Hey guys, how are you doing? Every 2 minutes, somewhere in the world, a child dies of malaria, a disease as old as human history, yet still claiming hundreds of thousands of lives each year. In India, we have made remarkable progress cutting malaria cases by more than half in the last decade, but the clock is ticking. Our goal is to eliminate malaria entirely by 2030. Now, a wave of innovation is transforming this fight. Powerful new vaccines like RTS S R21, smarter mosquito control, and cutting edge surveillance system. This is not just a story about disease, it is about science, resilience, and India's determination to lead the world in public health victories. Today, we explore how vaccines and innovations could push malaria into the history books forever. And we begin this video with basic concepts of malaria. Here we go. Malaria is a life-threatening disease caused by Plasmodium parasites transmitted to human through the bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito. So malaria is basically, let me tell you, this is protozoan disease. Okay, this is protozoan. Okay, okay. If it is clear, so this is protozoan disease. What is protozoa? Protozoa are eukaryotic single unicellular organism. You must be, knowing amoeba, for example. You must be knowing about paramecium. These are example of, right? One, two. These are example of protozoa. Protozoa are fully first, eukaryotic cells. They are unicellular eukaryotic cells, and eukaryotic, I have already made the video on eukaryotic. It has well developed nucleus, right? So nucleus has all essential components: nuclear pores, nuclear membrane, there is nucleolus, and DNA is also sitting there, right, in terms of chromosomes. So it is eukaryotic cells. It is eukaryotic cells. Like we have amoeba and paramecium, we have with some unusual properties, we have plasmodium. This plasmodium is responsible for malaria. So malaria is a disease which is a protozoan disease, and this plasmodium, let me tell you, it is 5 types of plasmodiums are there in the world. Plasmodium falciparum is one, which is distant cousin of these are cousins, by the way, Plasmodium vivax. And in India, we have cases of Plasmodium vivax. And let me tell you, this Plasmodium falciparum is most deadly. This is the deadliest one. Deadliest. Okay. तो इसके जो cases होते हैं, they are very severe. It causes severe malaria. है ना? Responsible for severe malaria. And severe malaria simply means it also causes malaria of brain, which is called cerebral malaria. We are going to talk about. This is deadliest one. This vivax is common in Asia, common in India. At least it is it is not very deadliest, common in Asia, particularly if we talk about India. And what about this? It is it is dormant. It relapses due to dormant liver stage. So it relapses. दोबारा आ जाते हैं इसके cases, है ना? Relapses due to dormant. Let me tell you, due to dormant liver stage. I am going to talk about malaria cycle quickly, which you are looking in this diagram. So we are going to talk about it. Then another one is Plasmodium. Apart from Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, we have Plasmodium malariae, it is milder. Third one is P for Plasmodium. Okay, P means Plasmodium. Plasmodium malariae, spelling I think RIAE. Plasmodium malariae, which is milder. This is milder form of malaria, but chronic infection is possible, but it could have chronic infection. Okay, तो इसमें chronic infection हो सकता है. Long term infection can be possibilities there. Another one is rarest one, very rare, Plasmodium ovale. We call it Plasmodium ovale. It is rare. Relapse is also possible. Last one, which you might not have seen in NCERT books. This is given in all NCERT books. If you have gone through NCERT book, if you have not gone through NCERT book, you need to go through it. Okay. The fifth one is Plasmodium knowlesii. It is called. I should use another color pen, so that I can, it should be. ये आपको अलग से दिख जाए. Plasmodium knowlesii. This Plasmodium noelsii is called monkey malaria. It is called monkey malaria. Okay. Or this one is, therefore, it is called zoonotic. Zoonotic are those diseases which is transmitted from animals to human and severe but uncommon. No, it is severe but uncommon. All right. So, what is vector? Vector is something which carries this Plasmodium. So vector, disease causing vector is, in the technical term, this vector is female anopheles mosquito. Which one? तो इसका जो वो है, इसको कैरी कौन करता है? फीमेल एनोफिलीज मस्किटो, एंड देयरफॉर इट इज मस्किटो बॉर्न डिजीज. Mosquitoes, so we call it mosquito borne disease. Mosquitoes plays very important role. Mosquitoes borne diseases, one of the mosquito borne diseases, like you must be knowing about, for example, Aedes mosquito. What it does, it transmits chikungunya, dengue, Zika virus, yellow fever. Then this female anopheles mosquito is responsible for malaria. Then we have Culex mosquito, which is responsible for Japanese encephalitis, a very severe form of brain disease basically, right? Then Culex mosquito is responsible for filaria also, which is again protozoan disease, which is also known as elephantiasis, because the lower limbs are like of elephants. So these all are main diseases which are transmitted by mosquitoes, right? And another mode, mosquito bite. And mosquito bite, what happens after mosquito bite, that this parasite, it goes to bloodstream. And rare routes are also possible, like blood transfusion, sharing of contaminated needles, mother to fetus. They are rare routes, right? So if someone asks rare routes, तो rare root of this parasites are blood transfusion. तो blood transfusion के कारण भी हो सकता है, just don't forget it. Transfusion like infected syringes, right? Mother to child in fetus, mother to child. These are rarest root of this. Okay. Let me show you one diagram which tells relative incidence of this Plasmodium species. This green signal is saying, this green, so measure those areas which are very far away from equator, and you must be knowing basic geography. So if this is one model of Earth and we have this equatorial region, so equatorial regions have high temperature and high rainfall. This equatorial region, then we have this temperate regions, and okay, so temperature is decreasing as we move away from equator. This is 0 degree, this is 0 degree, then 23.5, Tropic of Cancer 66.5, and again 23.5 degrees south, 66.5 degrees south, Antarctic circle, Arctic circle, है ना? तो ये सब आपने पढ़ा होगा north. This area is characterized by heavy rainfall. This is heavy rainfall, and heavy rainfall, not only heavy rainfall, but moisture content is also high. High temperature, high rainfall. So this is the place where mosquitoes are naturally, they are thriving. Mosquitoes के लिए कैसा है? Mosquito breeding grounds are ideal. Mosquitoes breeding grounds, for mosquito it is very ideal. As you move away, you don't have mosquitoes. They जैसे अगर आप लोगों ने बेसिक हिस्ट्री कोर्स जब किया होगा, इट इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ यूपीएससी, यू रीड एवरी सब्जेक्ट, तो आपने देखा होगा कि जब अंग्रेज यहाँ पर आए थे, इंडिया में आए थे, तो दे वर वेरी पजल्ड इनिशियली, कि भाई यहाँ पर बीमारियां हैं, है ना? चारों तरफ जब भी आए थे तो बोला कि यहाँ पर इवन ऑल इन्वेडर्स, दे फाउंड इट लाइक कि यहाँ पर मॉइस्चर कंटेंट बहुत ज्यादा है, ह्यूमिडिटी इज टू मच, एंड देयरफॉर मस्किटो बॉर्न डिजीजेस आर देयर. Now you can translate this basic concepts. These areas, equatorial region, है ना? तो ये इक्वेटोरियल रीजन है सेंटर में, और इक्वेटोरियल रीजन बेसिकली अगर आप देखोगे तो इक्वेटोरियल रीजन में, है ना, साउथ, अगर फॉर दैट मैटर पार्ट ऑफ आई गेस दिस एक्वेडोर, दिस इज पेरू, चिले, है ना, एक्वेडोर, है ना, कोलंबिया, and this region in South America, then Central Africa, because this line pass through Central Africa. Then we have but for that matter 23.5 degree, this Tropic of Cancer, which is also passing through India, there are cases of malaria. And Tropic of Capricorn, यहाँ से भी क्या है, इसके बीच में मलेरिया के ज्यादा केस है. If you can look at this diagram, This red is showing Plasmodium falciparum, which is distant cousin of Plasmodium vivax. And the cases of Plasmodium vivax are there in India. For example, this is the part central India, in northeast India. You can see falcipariums. Cases of falcipariums are very low in India. Plasmodium falciparum is quite prevalent in Africa only, in mid Africa and South America also, part of Asia also. But in Asian countries, majorly it is Plasmodium vivax, right? A small infection of Plasmodium malaria is there. If you can look at this diagram, so you can identify the areas where there are malaria cases. Those areas which are green, they are very far away from equator, and temperature is very low. At low temperature, low rainfall, less moisture. तो ये जो एरियाज हैं इनमें क्या है, लेस मॉइस्चर कंटेंट, लो टेम्परेचर, एंड देयरफॉर देयर इज नो practically no case of malaria. At least it is not threatening, right? So this is, what about it? I guess, let me tell you the incubation period of these are incubation period. What is incubation period? Incubation period is the time between mosquito bite and first symptoms to arrive. For falciparum, it is around 9 to 14 days. So average, if you want to remember, it is around 15 days. If you want to remember, average around 15 days. Okay. 12 to 18 days, Plasmodium vivax. Now, first symptoms will arrive around 12 to 18 days, and they are milder. Malaria, for example, 18 to 40 days, so on and so forth. These are the incubation period, right? How many of you know about the symptoms? What are the symptoms? If I were to talk about symptoms of malaria, if I were to talk about symptoms, so symptoms, it is kind of a cycle. Actually, there are 3 stages of malaria, which you should know. 3 stage. First stage, let's say this is stage 1. Okay, this stage 1 is characterized by shivering stage, shivering and cold. This stage is characterized by shivering and cold. And the second stage, it is kind of cycle actually. So this second stage, it is stage number 2, and then we have this stage number 3, right? There are 3 basic stages of malaria cycle, and this stage 2 is characterized by headache and high fever. So person will feel high fever around, it could be high fever. On Fahrenheit degree Celsius, it should be around 104, 105 degree Fahrenheit. And headache also. Your brain is also bursting, right? Headache. Okay. Headache, severe headache. Then again, this stage is called sweating stage. You will have sweat, you will undergo sweat. And after sweating, you will again find out, sweating के बाद फिर से क्या हो जाएगा? Again, you will feel cold, आपको ठंड लगेगी. And then after this shivering, once again high fever, headache, and after high fever, again sweating stage. A patient, which is a malaria patient, undergoes this cycle many times a day. Those are the symptoms of this disease. Okay. अगर ये बहुत क्या है, सीवियर केस है, इन केस ऑफ सीवियर मलेरिया, लेट मी टेल यू, सीवियर मलेरिया, आई एम राइटिंग हियर, ओके, फॉर सीवियर केसेस, सीवियर मलेरिया, फॉर एग्जांपल, ओके, severe malaria, one case of severe malaria is Plasmodium falciparum, which is deadly. It causes cerebral mean, these words you should know, cerebral mean brain, right? So cerebral malaria, तो जो मलेरिया का वो है parasite, it goes to brain, है ना? It will cause confusion, seizure, coma, and so on and so forth. Severe, again severe form of severe anemia. Anemia is platelets, RBC counts, low RBC count, है ना? Low blood cells or low RBC counts. Kidney failure, respiratory disease. Once these symptoms arrive, kidney, failure, kidney cannot filter blood properly, है ना? Respiratory diseases. It also causes respiratory distress, respiratory kind of problems, respiratory diseases. Shock and multi, finally, just a minute. Shock and multi-organ failure. Multi-organ failure. What we should remember, these cases are there in Africa, Plasmodium falciparum. This color is not visible, so I am writing with this color only. Plasmodium falciparum. Just don't forget it. It is Plasmodium falciparum. All right. So how diagnosis is done? Typically, diagnosis is done with microscopy. Thin and thick blood smears is a gold standard for diagnosis. You should know. Rapid diagnostic tests are there, RDTs, so to speak. They detect parasite antigens in blood, right? So there is one thing you should know. Peruvian bark, which is called Cinchona. I remember now. It is Cinchona, right? Cinchona tree. So Cinchona जो कंपाउंड है एंटी मलेरियल कंपाउंड, इट इज कॉल्ड एंटी मलेरियल कंपाउंड, है ना? इसको क्या कहते हैं? एंटी मलेरियल कंपाउंड. इट इज पर्टिकुलरली फाउंड इन पेरू, है ना, चिले, साउथ अमेरिका. पेरुवियन बार्क, इट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड पेरुवियन बार्क. इट इज बेसिकली, इट हैज समथिंग कॉल्ड क्विनीन. इट इज क्विनीन, है ना. दिस कंपाउंड इज एक्सट्रैक्टेड फ्रॉम द बार्क of Cinchona tree. Cinchona tree. Okay. This is what you should remember. Cinchona tree. All right. And with this quinine, chloroquine, CHLORO, chloroquine is made. Chloroquine is made. है ना? तो ये देख लेना, right? So for that matter, there are so many therapies available for Plasmodium falciparum. There is one therapy called ACT. Artemisinin based combination therapy for Plasmodium vivax and ovale, chloroquine, which I am saying. And if one is sensitive for this particular medicine, then you have this something called primaquine, right? It is to kill basically liver, those hypnozoids, right? So I am going to talk about that. All right, let me tell you malaria cycle, which I am discussing. This is malaria cycle. You should know this malaria cycle stage. When an infected female anopheles mosquitoes, what it does when it bites, this is the stage number 1. ठीक है? तो जब भी क्या होगा, जो ये female anopheles mosquito, if it is infected, female anopheles mosquito, if it is infected mosquito, so if it is carrying this plasmodium, right? If it is carrying this plasmodium, this is the stage number 1. What it does actually, this plasmodium, it injects tiny malaria parasites called sporozoites. These sporozoites are tiny. What it's going to do? Sporozoites. You just follow this diagram. Sporozoites. These sporozoites are tiny malaria. They are basically tiny malaria parasites. They are motile, है ना? ये क्या होते हैं? एक्टिव होते हैं. They are motile and infective form of parasites of Plasmodium. Then second stage, these are the stages, है ना? Second stages, ये तो blood stream वाली है. Second stage is liver, where asexual reproduction. This sporozoites, they travel through blood stream and is the liver. And inside liver, they do what? Asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction simply mean, asexually they make copies, right? So this is the stage number 1. This is liver stage. This is liver of human liver, and in this stage asexual reproduction is taking place. Asexual reproduction, right? Asexual reproduction. और asexual reproduction के बाद फिर से third stage is again blood stream. Okay, तो जो ये sporozoites हैं, they are now called merozoites, and these merozoites, they enters blood stream, and what they do actually, they infect red blood cells and multiply very rapidly. And after their multiplication, what they do actually, they cause rupture of this RBC, है ना? Rupture of RBC. RBC क्या हो जाएगी? टूट जाएगी. And once RBC is ruptured, they release chemicals which are responsible for chills, fever, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, this stage is chill and fever stage. Now next stage is chills and fever, है ना? RBC rupture हो गया. This is third stage. Again, if you are following, so this keep on going. This is a cycle keep going on. Next stage is gametocytes, and once I use the word gametocytes, then this is a sexual reproduction. अगर कोई question पूछे आपसे, in malaria what happens? Is there only asexual reproduction? No, there is sexual and asexual reproduction, both goes on, right? So this is sexual stage in which male and female gametocytes are formed. And again, this mosquito, if this person is if another mosquito, if bites this person, it will pick those gametocytes and it will become again, it will again become infected, तो वो mosquito क्या करेगा, फिर से क्या कर सकता है, it can bite another person and transmit this malaria. This is the idea, So stage 1 was sporozoite, then again liver stage, again bloodstream stage, then sexual reproduction stage, and finally it is once again mosquito gut stage. Inside the mosquito's stomach, these gametocytes turns into gametes which fuse to form again something is called Wookie nets. It is written, right? Something is called Wookie nite, on Wookie nights. I don't know how to read it, but people read it Wookie nite, right? Then oocytes, and these oocytes produce thousands of sporozoites, and again this cycle is, it goes on and goes on. This is how it works. In 2023, let me tell you, malaria infected nearly 294 million people and killed close to 600,000 people. Okay, so what the world is doing basically, there is some kind of victory. People have made vaccines, and let me tell you about vaccines. Malaria vaccine, first approved malaria vaccine called RTS and S. It arrived in 2021 and which offered 55% protection in the first year, but efficacy waned by 18 months, requiring fourth booster dose. That was one problem with these vaccines, RTS and S vaccines. Alright. Then there is another one, R21 or Matrix M vaccines developed by Oxford and the Serum Institute showed up 77% efficacy in phase 3 trial, winning World Health Organization approval in 2023. Then there was another vaccine, Fewer doses, low cost, and Indian production make it, especially promising. That is good thing about it. It doesn't require many doses and it has low cost. That is one good thing about this R21 vaccines. Still, both vaccines target only one stage of the parasite, leaving reinfection and transmission a lingering threat. That is one problem. It does not as a whole provide protection or some kind of immunity, but it only targets one stage. So अभी जो research चल रही है जिसके बारे में what we want to talk, the experimental PF-SPZ vaccine, which mimics natural infection. I think you are getting, earlier this one. These vaccines, these two vaccines, what they are doing actually, they are targeting single protein, like RTS S, R21. They are not targeting whole parasite, but the vaccine which I am now going to talk, this vaccine is mimicking, it is going to mimic, or it mimics natural infection. This PF-SPZ, it mimics natural infection, and therefore it will, what it does actually, it is going to give us some kind of immunity, long-term immunity. And how it is doing it? It is using radiation weakened P. plasmodium falciparum sporozoite. Do you remember sporozoite? The tiny parasites, malaria parasites. They are entering the bloodstream and they are going to, अगर आपको अभी मैंने बताया था, है ना? So this is what we are talking. These sporozoites, they are entering the bloodstream and they undergo asexual reproduction in liver, and before that they are taken out and they are weakened, and therefore delivery directly into the bloodstream. Early studies showed that the 96% of participants developed strong antibodies, so our immune system goes to work, and जैसे ही वो काम करना शुरू कर देगा, it is going to produce antibodies with up to 79% protection after the third dose. That is one thing. This is kind of whole. It is doing what actually? It is kind of whole parasite vaccine which exposes the immune system to entire malaria parasites and alive or otherwise weakened, as we are talking, right? तो पूरे इम्यून सिस्टम को पूरा ये प्लाज्मोडियम फाल्सिपेरियम से क्या किया जाता है, एक्सपोज किया जाता है, as natural vaccines are made, right? Unlike vaccines that target the parasite's earlier stage, PFRH5 acts during the blood stage when symptoms appear and rise of severe illness increases. While the above vaccines aim, again there was another transmission blocking vaccines. These are called transmission blocking vaccine, TBV. While the above vaccine aim at protecting individuals, transmission blocking vaccines target the parasite in the mosquito only, halting its spread at the population level. PFS230D1 induce antibodies that prevent parasite fertilization within the mosquito gut, right? So there are For example, CRISPR-Cas9 technology, DNA editing technology is there, So we are going to cover all those topics in another video. But the part of this video was, vaccines कौन सी बन रही है and what are the challenges and path ahead for India. And we wind up this video with this final discussion. Let me tell you one basic, Ronald Ross. If you remember, who was there? It was Ronald Ross. Ronald Ross. He got 1902 Nobel Prize in Medicine. Nobel Prize in Medicine, and this guy was responsible for, and for, it was coincidentally he was in India only, Sikandrabad, in South India, where there were mosquito cases were going on. He proved that female Anopheles mosquito is responsible for malaria transmission. Malaria means bad air, at that time the meaning of malaria was, it means bad air basically. So people believe earlier bad air is responsible for this kind of illness, but Ronald Ross, he peeked into the stomach of mosquito and found out that the same parasite or same plasmodium is in the blood of malaria patient, which is there in the female Anopheles mosquito, and he proved that these mosquitoes are responsible for malaria transmission, and he got 1902 Nobel Prize for this discovery. Right. Quickly, before winding up this video, India aims at eliminating malaria by 2030. That is one thing what India wants to do. Right. Okay. That is the, let me tell you, between 2015 to 2023, malaria burden was reduced by around 80%, 2015 to 2023. In India, this malaria burden was reduced to 80%. That is milestone, by the way, है ना? इससे बड़ा achievement नहीं हो सकता. This is biggest achievement, 80%. Okay, and by 2030, India has ambitious plan, and which hinges on precision and persistence. Science is advancing, but it needs infrastructure and political will to match. Right? If you want to eliminate it by 2030, we have to have political will, and apart from that, we should have robust infrastructure for that. Strong coordination between regulators, industry, and researchers is needed. Challenges that need to be addressed include producing GMP. What is GMP? Good manufacturing practices, great components, developing immune biomarkers, and benchmarking efficacy against RTS S and R21. Okay, we have to benchmark those efficacies. Doctors need training, resistance must be tracked, and vector control has to keep pace. Like everybody is saying, like COVID-19, as we have fought against COVID-19. That is what all of us want, right? So with the next generation vaccine, homegrown innovation, and growing scientific momentum, this country stands at this critical juncture, and we can eliminate by 2030 malaria completely. Okay. Before winding up this video, let me give you one question for practice. Examine the current status of malaria in India and the steps being taken towards its eradication. Discuss how innovation, vector control, and vaccine development can contribute to achieving the 2030 targets. Right? This answer, write this question, और इसका आंसर लिखने के बाद you will have some idea. So we wind up this video. Thank you so very much for staying with us. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you so very much. See you guys until next time.